The movie begins with a tale of the banishment of Lucifer. Long ago, during the first war in heaven, something extraordinary happened. Lucifer, the one who defied the divine order, tumbled into the depths of damnation as a portal to the lower realm opened wide. Pursuing him relentlessly was Archangel Michael, known as the Heaven's Watchdog. Michael succeeded in binding Lucifer with chains that could never be broken. Yet, Lucifer was not one to yield easily. He made a vow, a chilling promise that he'd one day break free and rise as the mightiest of all beings. As years slipped by, he gathered an army of demons. Fast forward to the present moment, we see Laura Milton, who is an art historian seeking the approval of her thesis from Dr. Russo, a professor at Turin University. However, her request is met with a firm rejection. Dr. Russo, unimpressed with Laura's assertion that sacred and evil beings do not exist, deems her claim as nothing short of arrogance. Undeterred, Laura almost begs him for further discussion, but instead of engaging in debate, the professor invites her to his apartment. This unexpected proposition prompts Laura to swiftly make her exit. Afterward, Laura pays a visit to an exhibit featuring the Shroud of Turin, a cloth bearing an image of Jesus' resurrection said to contain his DNA. Here, she meets her good friend Father Marconi, who kindly provides her with an ID pass granting access to the cathedral. The priest accompanies her to a room where a sculpture depicting Archangel Michael triumphing over a demon is on display. Father Marconi explains that this guardian angel is here to watch over the shroud. Laura, unmoved by the notion of blaming the devil for heartache following a loved one's loss, shares her perspective with the sympathetic priest. As they part ways, he mentions prophecies that foretell the devil's return to earth, leaving Laura with much to ponder. As the father leaves, Laura settles down to sketch the sculpture. All of a sudden, she suddenly hears her name being called, though she appears to be alone in the room. As the day's exhibition comes to a close, an enigmatic figure cloaked in a hood enters the place and makes its way into another room. Sometimes later, in the midst of Laura sketching the devil's statue, an eerie turn of events unfolds as the statue begins to move. Intrigued, Laura approaches for a closer look, completely unaware of the hooded woman named Liz, who is silently observing her every move. Sensing something amiss, Laura moves around to make sure of her surroundings, where she encounters an unusual raven. Without paying much attention, she dismisses the bird. However, unbeknownst to her, Liz seizes the sword from the statue and goes away. As Laura is back from shooing away the crow, she inadvertently collides with a vigilant guard who reminds her of the closing time. Reluctantly, she surrenders her access pass. It's only then that she notices the sword missing from the sculpture, but chooses to overlook it and moves towards the exit, but it turns out to be closed. As Laura searches for another exit, she stumbles upon a chilling scene. She sees Liz decapitating the guard. Panic-stricken, Laura flees and takes refuge inside a confession booth. Meanwhile, Liz successfully steals the prized Shroud of Turin. Hearing the commotion, Father Marconi quickly arrives at the scene, displaying immense courage as he confronts the thief in a desperate bid to halt her escape. Tragically, as he draws near, he is brutally kicked and attacked in the chest by Liz. On the other hand, despite her immense struggle to remain hidden, Liz notices Laura's presence within the confession booth and intervenes, preventing her from escaping. She cryptically mentions that Laura may be chosen for something significant, leading her aides to take her along. While this chaos unfolds, Father Marconi finds solace in prayer and beseeches Archangel Michael for aid. In a mystical twist, radiant light descends from above, entering the priest's body as the archangel possesses him. He materializes in front of the conspirators' getaway vehicle, and Liz recognizes that it is Michael within the priest's form. Fearing the archangel's might, she commands her associates to accelerate their escape. As they leave, Archangel Michael, inhabiting a mortal vessel, struggles with the unfamiliar constraints of human existence. He drops to his knees in agony, his divine power temporarily subdued. Meanwhile, in a grand hall adorned with the wealthy elite, a young boy exhibits his exceptional violin skills. Dr. Laurent, an associate of a biotech company, steps into the spotlight. With an air of authority, he unveils a startling revelation that they have the capacity to obtain the DNA of history's most influential figures and resurrect them through a cloning method that yields available for purchase by the affluent, presenting the boy as none other than Antonio Vivaldi. The renowned violin maestro, the foster parents of Antonio proudly claim him as their own and exit the stage, surrounded by eager anticipation. The room brims with excitement as the bidding for another extraordinary is set to begin. Dr. Laurent calls upon a nurse cradling a baby, introducing him as Michelangelo Buonarroti, the prodigious artist. Bids soar to a staggering 90 million euros, and a satisfied smile graces the doctor's lips. However, amidst the commotion, he discreetly notices the enigmatic Liz, and after nodding at each other, he decides to follow her. Their journey takes them to a fortress where the gates to the lower realm are concealed. Here, Laurent stands in awe before the revered Shroud of Turin. Liz commands him to prepare the surrogates, declaring that Lucifer will soon find the perfect vessel for his dark plans. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Laura awakens to the sound of loud crying and realizes she is confined within a glass cell along with 3 others, Sophia, Brenda, and Elena. Tension escalates when Sophia experiences a panic attack, which irritates Elena. Brenda and Laura work together to soothe Sophia's distress. Suddenly, medical personnel in hazmat suits storm into their cell, extracting blood samples from Laura and taking her photograph before abruptly departing. On another front, Michael, still inhabiting Father Marconi's body, limps back to the cathedral. He He enters a surveillance room where Bishop Bustamante and an assistant priest scrutinize footage of the recent infiltration. Unbeknownst to them, Michael, with a throbbing headache, stands just behind them, guzzling water. Their astonishment grows as they finally notice his presence, believing it to be a miracle. An impatient Michael inquires about the protectors of the shroud while enduring the excruciating pain in his head. The bishop explains that Cardinal Vincini, the protector, had been incessantly rambling about prophecies involving demonic creatures, covert factions, and visions of demons descending upon Earth, leading to his consignment to St. Michael's Asylum. Michael then presents Laura's exhibit pass to Bishop Bustamante and the assistant priest, inquiring about her identity. The assistant priest, shocked at the question, reveals that Laura is his friend. With an air of authority, Michael instructs them to keep his presence a well-guarded secret. However, curiosity gets the better of the assistant priest, and he dares to question Michael's identity. Realizing the priest's profound ignorance of the situation, Michael exits the room abruptly. But his departure is short-lived, as the priests block his path, unsure of how to handle the impending involvement of the police. In response, the Archangel chooses to narrate the events surrounding Father Marconi's apparent demise and the miraculous return to life of his body. He adds a touch of sarcasm, suggesting that perhaps they should conjure a more believable tale to avoid being committed to the asylum for revealing the truth. With that, the Archangel departs and makes his way to the priest's car. New to the art of driving, he inadvertently collides with the car parked behind him before cautiously driving away. As the morning sun rises, the Archangel finally arrives at the asylum. However, an unexpected figure, Cardinal Vincini, suddenly emerges behind him, armed with a gun and demanding to know his identity. Perceiving the stranger as a fellow priest, Vincini's welcome is laced with hostility, suspecting him to be Bishop Bustamante's ally. With a swift motion, he removes the younger man's collar and experiences a startling vision of Archangel Michael's original celestial form. With a formal introduction, Michael finally finds someone who grasps the gravity of the situation. He informs Vincini that the Shroud of Turin has been stolen, and proceeds to recount the events within the cathedral. Vincini, in turn, discloses that the asylum serves as a lookout for Lucifer's fortress, revealing a disturbing truth. Despite Michael's insistence that it's inconceivable for the demon to escape, Vincini echoes the prophecy, particularly regarding the two entities designated to facilitate Lucifer's release, the female demon, Liz, and the beast of the ground. Vincini solemnly declares that the long-awaited moment for their adversaries has arrived. He further explains that the faction had offered mortal infants as vessels for Lucifer, but none of their fragile bodies could contain the dark entity. However, now there is one eternal vessel which can potentially be resurrected through scientific means. Michael vehemently rejects this notion, affirming that the Creator will not permit such a blasphemous act. Vincini reiterates that the prophecies are the very reason the Archangel has been sent to intervene. Michael, with a sense of confession, admits that his descent to Earth was a choice he made of his own volition. Meanwhile, Laura manages to persuade Brenda and Elena to assist in their escape, but Sophia remains despondent. Brenda, inquiring about Sophia's marital status, learns that Laura's husband and child were tragically taken. Simultaneously, Michael carefully scouts the fortress, while Laurent informs Liz that Laura's DNA matches the genetic material they obtained from the Shroud. Back in the lower realm, the very ground trembles, and the sword that had held Lucifer's chains in place begins to loosen as the boulder cracks open. The demon seizes the chains and, with a mighty effort, finally breaks free. Back in the fortress, the doctors enter the glass cell, ready to carry out their ominous plan. The women put up a fierce fight, with the exception of Sophia. Unfortunately, they find themselves outnumbered and overpowered, leading to Laura and Brenda's capture and immediate transfer to the clinic. Inside the clinic, the women's frantic struggles continue as the doctors implant the DNA collected from the Shroud into their uterus. Desperate for answers, Laura implores Liz to explain the ordeal. Liz chillingly reveals that Laura will bear a child, and with eerie conviction, informs her that she knew Laura was chosen when she witnessed her remarkable sketch of Lucifer in the cathedral. Meanwhile, Vincini and Michael arrive outside the fortress, and the protector hands a gun to the Archangel. Vincini offers a prayer, yet he also questions the latter, afraid for his well-being, whether the Creator is with Michael. Instead of offering a direct answer, Michael shoulders the weight of responsibility, saying that it is his duty and he would ask permission later. Afterwards, he moves towards the beat through a dark tunnel. Back on the other side, as evening descends, Brenda and Laura find themselves dressed in bridal gowns, chained to a pole in front of an audience consisting of the entire faction. Tension fills the air as the ominous ceremony unfolds, with the poor women crying and struggling for their lives. Suddenly, the beast of the ground arrives, a terrifying entity, and forcibly drags them into the gate from where he arrived. There, he puts them in a cage suspended at the entrance of the lower realm. With a chilling creak, the gate swings open, lowering the cage into the dark pit. Back in the lower realm, Lucifer himself undergoes a sinister transformation, assuming the form of a serpent, encircled by demons who hold them against the cage bars. The serpent approaches Brenda, entering her body. She writhes in agony, crawling toward Laura for help, but tragically succumbs to her torment. As her lifeless body falls to the floor, the sinister serpent crawls out and moves towards Laura, who seals her mouth tightly shut. Subsequently, a malevolent demon compels Laura to open her mouth, and the serpent enters her body, causing all the surrounding beasts to vanish. Surprisingly, instead of passing away, she remains alive and well. Laura, now the focal point of the fortress, becomes the subject of the faction's exultation. Liz leads her to a new glass cell, proclaiming that she is carrying a son whom they consider a superior savior. Meanwhile, Michael makes his way into the fortress through a hidden tunnel. Confronted by guards, he struggles to wield the gun, unfamiliar with its operation. Yet, he ultimately manages to subdue the guards in combat, donning their attire. Inside Lawrence's lab, he locates the shroud and inadvertently stumbles upon footage of Laura. Just as he does, the doctor unexpectedly arrives and spots Michael. Engaging in a brief interrogation, Michael presses Laurent for answers, but the doctor's responses remain vague, hinting at a new beginning. Frustrated and sensing the urgency, Michael shoves Laurent aside and disconnects the gas tanks, disrupting his settings and preparing it for an explosion. He exits the room, and the facility erupts into chaos. Rescuing Laura from her confinement, she embraces Michael, mistaking him for Father Marconi. However, the Archangel clarifies his true identity, causing Laura to recoil in fear. Michael reassures her that he is not an enemy and listens intently as she recounts the horrors she has endured. Afterwards, Michael and Laura hastily make their escape through the labyrinthine tunnels. Just as the Archangel declares them safe from their pursuers, the beast of the ground ambushes him. Michael manages to conceal the shroud behind rocks before engaging in a fierce battle. Yet, his mortal form's limited strength proves a formidable obstacle, and he ultimately succumbs, losing consciousness. Simultaneously, Liz's henchmen locate Laura and forcefully drag her back to her confinement. In a desperate bid to gain the upper hand, Laura threatens Liz that she will not spare the child's life, inciting fury within the demon. Moments later, Michael regains consciousness, finding himself chained near the gates of hell. Summoning his formidable strength, he breaks free and, with unwavering determination, opens the gate to confront Lucifer. As the beast of the ground arrives on the scene, the Archangel makes a bold decision and leaps into the depths of hell. All the while, life within Laura's womb develops at an astonishing pace. Within the lower realm, Michael embarks on a search for Lucifer, but finds no trace of the fallen angel. Instead, he encounters a group of demons, led by Mammon, who informs him that their master has already made his way to Earth. They intend to follow suit, leaving Michael isolated in the depths of hell, chained with Lucifer's own sword. Back in the fortress, Laura momentarily finds solace as she witnesses her child thriving within her. However, her joy is abruptly shattered as the undergoes a grotesque transformation, turning into a demon. Laura, startled, awakens from this horrifying nightmare, with Liz by her side. Curious, Liz probes whether Lucifer has been communicating with her, but Laura turns away, refusing to engage. Unperturbed, Liz proceeds to narrate the events of the first war in heaven, lavishing praise upon her malevolent master. Yet, Laura remains steadfast in her silence, only growing increasingly aware of her own body's inexplicable transformation as it appears to grow haggard with red-rimmed eyes and whitewashed face. Angry, she shouts as the demon who, frustrated by Laura's defiance, issues a stern warning, making it clear that she will not tolerate any further disrespect. Back in the lower realm, a young woman named Doll, bearing an appearance that seems to straddle the line between demon and mortal, approaches a bound Michael. She is accompanied by her companions, and they call themselves the stolen, discarded vessels once intended for Lucifer. Doll proposes a deal to Michael, saying that they will free him in exchange for his assistance in helping them return home. Michael agrees to the pact but insists on retrieving his sword before proceeding. Grunt, Doll's companion, scoffs at Michael's vulnerable state, prompting the angel to reiterate his need for the sword. However, before they can proceed, the demons arrive, sending the stolen scrambling into hiding. Back in the human world, the serpent exits Laura's body to converse with her. Laura inquires whether Lucifer was responsible for her family's tragedy, but the serpent denies any involvement. Laura's loathing for Liz becomes evident as she declares her hatred for the demon. In response, the serpent informs her that Liz envies her and proposes the idea of ending Liz's life, to which Laura happily agrees. Soon, Laura's pregnant belly becomes more prominent, signaling the impending birth. Her veins bulge from her skin, and she grows pallid, all while dreaming of holding her baby in her arms. In a haunting encounter, she hears Lucifer's voice urging her to surrender herself as he cannot come to Earth without her. Observing Laura's condition through a window, Laurent and Liz express concerns for her well-being. However, the demon insists that Laura is growing stronger despite her physical appearance because of her bond with the child. That day, while a doctor is examining Laura's condition, suddenly, the electricity fails, and the attending doctor is thrown at the window with blood smeared all over him. Laura exits the room, driven by a disturbing compulsion, and aggressively attacks the first doctor she encounters, resulting in his tragic demise too. However, she soon regains her senses and is horrified by the lifeless body before her. Desperate to escape the faction's pursuit, she locks herself in a storage room and stumbles upon a bottle of bleach. Despite Lucifer's protests, Laura's determination prevails, and she drinks the bleach. Panicked, Liz forcibly kicks the door open, finding Laura with a smile, claiming the baby. However, Laura's triumph is short-lived as she vomits blood and collapses. Undeterred, Liz cruelly taunts her, asserting that Lucifer will ultimately consume her. A sudden transformation sweeps over Laura as she launches an attack on Liz, swiftly pinning her down. Lucifer, the one behind Laura's actions, issues a chilling threat to Liz, warning her that this is the last mistake he'll tolerate. He commands Liz to eliminate everyone who possesses knowledge of his impending resurrection and remarks on the unexpected bond forming between the child and Laura. Consequently, Lucifer instructs Liz to end Laura's life once the baby is born. Then he strides out of the room, after ordering the doctor to remove him from Laura's womb, causing to wash over Lauren, who has just arrived. Left all alone, Liz is consumed by envy, her emotions running wild due to Laura being the one supporting her lord. On the other side, Cardinal Vincini fervently prays to the Creator, seeking divine intervention to aid Michael in his battle against the devil. As Lucifer temporarily vacates Laura's body, he takes the opportunity to taunt the chained archangel. Lucifer tries to sway Michael to his side, boasting about his newly acquired body, one originally designed by the Creator. The serpent departs the realm, leaving Michael to grapple with his thoughts. Realizing the gravity of the situation and his own shortcomings, Michael concludes that he cannot single-handedly thwart Lucifer's plan. However, he remains steadfast in his belief that the dark plot will not come to fruition, as there is someone even more powerful than Lucifer. In this dire moment, Dahl arrives, intent on freeing Michael, but the chains prove immovable. Michael insists they provide him with his sword instead, and finally, Grunt retrieves the weapon. Dahl rushes to assist, and together, they laboriously drag the weighty sword toward Michael as the demons close in, determined to thwart their efforts. Mammon attempts to deceive Grunt into handing over the sword by promising to take the stolen home, but Dahl intervenes, swaying him to stay the course. Finally, Michael grasps his sword and undergoes a transformative shift, returning to his original celestial form. He swiftly subdues the surrounding demons and expresses gratitude to the Stolen for their assistance. Dahl reminds him of their promise, and Michael reaffirms his oath, although he departs hastily, vowing to return. Emerging from the lower realm, Michael reoccupies Father Marconi's body. He retrieves the shroud from its hiding place and embarks on a search for Laura. He discovers her unconscious in a bedchamber and tries to reassure her that the child is not evil. However, it is Lucifer who responds, telling Michael that Laura is not there, but he still believes that Laura is still within the body. Michael pushes the machine to an empty room to attempt an explanation, but it becomes evident that Lucifer has taken control of Laura's body. The fallen angel torments Michael, urging him to worship him. Michael resolutely refuses and proceeds to insist that the child, being an eternal being of greater power, will eventually overpower Lucifer. This, in turn, will result in Lucifer's eternal imprisonment. As Laura's contractions begin, Lucifer frantically attempts to thwart the birth, pained by Michael's revelations. Liz and Lauren enter the scene, unaware of the presence of Lucifer. The dark entity commands them to end the... However, Liz mistakenly believes it is Laura speaking, and, disregarding Lucifer's orders, they forcibly relocate her to the gates of hell to deliver the child. The faction gathers in anticipation as they await the birth of Lucifer's vessel. As the baby is born, Liz takes the child away from Laura and proudly displays him to the watching faction. She then commands the beast of the ground to open the gates of hell where Laura lies. Lacking the strength to move, Laura makes a desperate attempt to reach the edge. But as the gate swings open, she plummets into the abyss. Subsequently, Liz summons the beast to end the lives of everyone in the faction, employing its chain sickle to execute the gruesome task. Among the carnage, only Laurent remains as the sole survivor. On the other side, Michael is fortunate to be alive. Back at the bloodbath, Liz briefly allows him to hold the child before callously ending his life. Humming to herself, Liz strolls through the pool of lifeless bodies, cradling the baby in her arms. The beast of the ground returns to the gate to ensure there are no survivors and to release the demons. Fortunately, Michael arrives just in the nick of time, rescuing Laura, and they make a hasty pursuit of Liz. Laura manages to stop Liz from driving away with her baby, pushing the demon aside. Desperate pleas from Liz fall on deaf ears as Michael clarifies that the baby is not Lucifer, but rather an eternal being born to bind the demon forever. Michael entrusts the shroud to Laura, instructing her to find Vincini. He chooses to stay behind, citing a promise that he must fulfill. As the roars of demons fill the air, he hurries back to the gate. When the portal opens, the demons scramble to escape. Michael attempts to close the gate, but to his misfortune, the beast of the ground hurls him away. As the chaos unfolds, Michael spots the explosives that Liz had set up to bury the fortress. He takes a moment to express gratitude to Father Marconi for allowing him to inhabit his body. With that, he triggers the explosives, causing the fortress to crumble, burying the gate under a heap of rubble. Laura successfully locates Vincini, and together they return to the cathedral, carrying the baby and the shroud with them. Bishop Bustamante raises questions about the existence of the child, but they choose to remain silent. The shroud is once again placed on display, now with enhanced security measures in place. On the other side, Michael fulfills his promise to the Stolen, returning to the lower realm in his original celestial form to help them find their way home. Many years pass, and the baby grows into a boy, raised by Laura with the assistance of Father Vincini. However, lurking in the shadows, Liz continues to watch the boy, making a sinister call to Lucifer. In a chilling moment, the child turns to look at Liz, with the serpent's black smoke ominously emanating from his nose. Eventually, the serpent returns inside the boy, accompanied by the sound of Lucifer's groans, as the child calmly fixes his gaze upon Liz and smiles.